Welcome to Just Say Yes with your host, intuitive life coach, Betsy Gutting.
Thank you so much for joining me today on Just Say Yes, the show that inspires and frees you to just say yes to your divine destiny. Here on 1-2 Radio, changing the way we listen to the world. And I have been very much looking forward to the show today. My guest is international best-selling author John C. Parkin, whose newest book is Fuck It Therapy, The Profane Way to Profound Happiness. So before I introduce John, I want to invite you to join us in the Facebook chat room, which is facebook.com/12 Radio. And at the break, I will come over and say hi. And I also want to say that today is a holiday in the United States. It's Veterans Day, and I want to recognize and honor all of our veterans, past and present, for their service. You are much loved and appreciated. And tomorrow is the new moon. It's always a powerful time for setting intentions. So I just wanted to invite all of us to take a breath in this moment and connect to your heart and just sense where you'd like to go in this wonderful hour with my guest, John. What would you like to take away from today? How would you like to feel at the end of the show, knowing that where intention goes, energy flows? And my intention is that we're going to create a magical hour, just like John, and we'll find this out when he comes on. Just like him, I'm all about freedom, freeing yourself, and creating a magical life. So I'm really, really excited to have John on. John C. Parkin is the UK's best-selling wisdom teacher. His first book, Fuck It, The Ultimate Spiritual Way, has sold more than 250,000 copies around the world and is available in 22 languages. John left a top job in London and escaped to Italy with his wife Gaia and their twin boys, where they now teach famous Fuck It retreats in various spectacular locations. And I just read John's new book, Fuck It Therapy, The Profane Way to Profound Happiness, and I found it richly profound, humorous, and playful. Thank goodness, we all need more play. And it's filled with some really fresh, practical, and magical tools that have already begun to free and transformed me. So just reading the book, it's very high vibration, as we say. You will feel elevated to a higher vibration just reading it. And though John and I are not yet closely acquainted, I sense from our email correspondence and his book that he is compassionate, deep in spirit and generosity, and I am so grateful for his presence on the show today. So welcome, John, and thank you so much for being on the show. I'm very honored that you said yes.
Oh, Betsy, thank you. And thank you for asking me. It's lovely to be here with you. And that's probably the most lovely introduction I've ever had in my life. So I'm going to record that and play it to myself. I'm going to play it to myself every day. As I wake up, I'm going to play your introduction. I can't imagine a better way to start the day.
Oh, John. Well, I'm so happy you're making me laugh already, because that was one of my little secret intentions, to laugh throughout the show, because it's just so relaxing, isn't it? To laugh and so much fun.
It is. We can laugh throughout the show. Let's be silly together. And it feels like it's a very spiritual state to be when we're free and playing and laughing. It feels very in touch to me. And that's what I want to share. Not as a comedian. I'm not a comedian, but it's nice to share that sense of freedom, isn't it?
Oh, John, I could not agree with you more about silliness and laughter and play. And I know you have two boys and I have two daughters. My daughters are 20 and 23, and yours are, I think you said 10 now?
Yeah, well, 11, yeah.
11. Okay, so we have about a decade difference there. But, the wonderful thing about being with children is you can just be your silly, funny, self. It's so, they have it all going on.
They certainly do. It changes, doesn't it, how kids are? I mean, you've been through the teenage years. I can't imagine it's a complete laugh every single day. And,
yes, I needed your book. I needed your book a few years ago, John.
I bet. I need my book as I go through the next years. We got one of our sons because they're twins. Well, pretty obviously they're twins if they're born in the same year.
Yeah.
And one of them in particular is being quite teenager-like at the moment. So it takes a good amount of efforts and letting go. So I'm used to saying F it on the radio, so it's really nice to be able to say fuck it.
Yes.
So I say fuck it. Great.
I know. It's great, John. I've been practicing. I talked to my mom the other night and I said, I'm doing the show, and I named the book, and she said, "You really like saying that, don't you?" which meant that I've made a lot of progress, because in the past I've been really shy. I don't swear, and I know I heard you say that as well, that you are a polite Englishman, I think are the words you used. But it's go ahead.
Yeah. I am polite, and I'm generally polite, and I don't swear that much.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly don't kind of litter my conversation with the F word as some people do.
Right.
And I kind of think that's important. It's nice to keep this strong and powerful word for strong and powerful needs and strong and powerful occasions. Mm-hmm. So if I'm really, really angry with somebody, I might use the F word, but it's not something I'd use so easily. But it keeps its power, doesn't it? If it's not there all the time, it keeps its power, and that's kind of what we've come across with the expression "fuck it," mm-hmm. is that it's got a lot of power. So of course it's going to upset some people, and for anybody of your listeners that it upsets, I'm sorry that it upsets you, but we're using it for a good reason. We're not using it. We're not just using it kind of lightly. We're using it. It's a little bit like in emergency situations, you need emergency responses. You don't. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wouldn't generally if I had a terrible accident, I probably wouldn't use homeopathy. I might use a bit of arnica, but I would certainly call I would then call the paramedics out and get somebody to sort the kind of cuts in my body out. And it's the kind of same with this. I think a lot of the ideas that we talk about and we share are really lovely, and it's very powerful to talk about relaxing and letting go and going with the flow. Mm-hmm. But when it's really a really tough situation, sometimes we need to use some tough language and some tough love, and that's where the F word comes in for me.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. It is super powerful. And I'm wondering if we can just talk a little bit about, if you would share a little bit about the book, how you sort of observe that we have the tendency to put ourselves in prison, metaphorically speaking.
Yes, I can. And it's interesting because when we planned a lot of the book about this time last year, kind of worked out the kind of things we'd like to say, mm-hmm. and the kind of things we'd like to talk about. And it was I think earlier this year when we got basically trapped in our own house. Now, probably not where you live, but there are places in the States and Canada where getting snowed in your own home is a common thing, but it's not common here. Mm-hmm. And in February we were completely snowed in here, where there was no possibility that anybody could come down our track and rescue us. And the only way to get out was using a helicopter, and they weren't going to send a helicopter to us. They had a lot more people to look after. So we were trapped in our own home, and it made me realize that this kind of us literally being trapped was reflecting pretty much how a lot of us are in our lives, and that we are trapped in one way or another, that we live in these sometimes self-imposed prisons and sometimes prisons that have been created by our difficult circumstances. But the idea that not having a lot of self-doubt, for example, not having self-confidence is a way of us imprisoning ourselves. Not being perfectionist, for example, which is a quality I have. The desire to be the best at everything and do the best in everything you do is in itself, it traps us. It constrains us. So there's lots of different ways in which we constrain and trap ourselves. And we don't allow ourselves the freedom just to be, or to express ourselves fully, or to do what we like in life. So we kind of used that as the metaphor throughout the book, and then talked about what these prisons were and how we can escape them.
Yes, and I love the way you use, and by the way, perfectionism is one of, I call myself a recovering perfectionist because I do want to recover, John. I do want to recover.
What do you do
yes.
as a recovering perfectionist? Do you
What's
just do
that?
things very badly?
Do I just see things? What? I'm sorry, you cut out on me a little bit there.
Sorry, yeah, I said it's. I wonder what you do as a recovering perfectionist. Do you just try to do things a lot worse than you'd normally do them?
Well, that's a really good tip. I mean, it's a good tool to give ourselves permission to do something badly, right?
It's true, yeah. Or
Because then
not
we
quite.
might,
Yeah,
then we might actually have fun doing it.
absolutely. No, it is interesting. But what kind of things do you do?
Oh, John, I want to talk about you, but you're so kind to ask me. In terms of perfectionism,
Yeah.
well, I dance a lot. I move. One of the things that you and I have in common from reading your book, and really want to have you talk about this too, is movement.
Yeah.
It's like you said, in fact, I pulled an angel. I have these little angel cards, and I always pull a card before my show, and I laughed because, of course, the card was relaxation.
Hey.
And that is such a strong part of your message. And
Yeah.
you give us all of these wonderful tools. And there's so much I want to talk with you about. I know we could talk for 4 hours. But one thing I want to ask you is gosh, there's so many things. Okay, I want to ask you about just the way when we're children, you say we're naturally free,
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, I have to be honest, it's sort of broken my heart. And I think why I do this work and why I have this vision to free myself and help free others is because I think, what would life be like if we could be like children again? And
Yes.
and we know what it feels like when we are. It feels amazing.
Yes.
And, so can you talk a little bit about, maybe you can talk about kind of your favorite tool to free yourself from perfectionism or any of these other self-doubt. And because even though you've sold 250,000 books and, you're famous now and you have these famous retreats, it doesn't mean that, you don't get snagged once in a while still, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely not. I teach this stuff, and I've always taught this stuff, not because I know it all in any way. It's because I need it all.
Right.
I teach relaxation because I need to relax constantly. I teach fuck it because I need to say fuck it, because I get attached to stuff, because I get upset by silly things, because I do come out of my playful child self and take some things very, very seriously. So, yeah, goodness me, I mean, in a way, I love teaching the stuff that means most to me every day, not the stuff that meant things to me 20 years ago. So, about the kid thing. I mean, one thing to say is that, of course, there are people out there who didn't have wonderful childhoods, and I kind of recognize that. And but most of us can tap into some memory of feeling free, of feeling open, of feeling playful as children. And it's a great shame. One reason it's great to talk about kids is because when we talk about a spiritual state, or we talk about a kind of enlightened state, and we kind of imagine what it'd be like to be kind of nirvanic and peaceful and open and kind of, all the things we imagine that constitute a spiritual state. We kind of imagine it as somewhere else and something beyond us and something that we can't access very easily. So the great thing about talking about the child state is that most of us can recognize that we were once there, that we once not just had access to this by doing some meditations or doing a workshop or listening to the right radio or tapes or whatever it is. We actually were there all the time. And I love this fact as well about how the brain frequency. So, I mean, our brain frequency is generally beta frequency. So beta is the adult brain frequency. So it's good to kind of get things done, to work things out, to be rational about things. And occasionally when we relax or when we kind of drift off or we daydream or, we're in the shower or whatever, our brain switches frequency to alpha frequency, which is a more relaxed state, and the hypnotherapists call it the light trance state. And here's the amazing thing. Kids' brains are in alpha frequency, the light trance state, all the time. When they come in, it's actually at I think at theta state, theta frequency. But for the majority, up till about, it depends obviously on the child, on their experience, but let's say 6, 7, 8 years old, a child is generally in this alpha frequency. And you can see it. You can see what kids are like. They kind of daydreamy all the time. They wobble. I mean, I love it's less so now, but when we used to watch our kids when they were younger, you just watch them watching the television. Let's say they're not sitting down on the sofa, they're standing up. Mm-hmm. And they would stand there watching the TV, and they kind of shake a little bit, and they'd stretch out, and they bend to one side. Mm-hmm. And they just obviously kids naturally play. We associate play with children. They are naturally more in the present. They enjoy silly things. So they, the classic thing is that they enjoy the wrapping paper as much as the present when you give them a present.
Yes.
So we were there. We were all there once.
Yes.
And it's still there in our brains. So it depends what way you look at this. It's a part of your brain or it's a frequency in your brain, and we can access it again. So the spiritual state that many of us crave is there already in our brains.
Yes, that's so powerful. You, in the book, you talk about breakout tools, and then you talk about magic, and I really want to get to the magic, but first will you tell us there are 2 ways that you can use fuck it therapy in terms of the breakout tools?
Yeah, of course. Fortunately, I can remember that bit.
I remember you saying you might not remember all of it, so I'm willing to fill in where necessary, John.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And I haven't got the book in English, so I can't even read it out. But I do remember that bit. And there's 2. I mean, the first breakout tool is the one that I talked a lot about in the first book, which is the general way that we talk about fuck it, which is our ability to say fuck it and let go, to let go or to let it go. So let's just look at that for 1 second, which is that most of us are too fast, too stressed, working too hard, pushing ourselves too much, striving, and generally going for it in a way that stresses us out, taking things too seriously, etc., etc. So the ability to slow down and let go and relax is this way. So in Taoist terms, it's to go from a yang energy to a yin energy, a softer, smoother energy where we slow everything down. And that means giving things up usually. It means slowing down, working less if we can, taking things easier. And then the other breakout tool and the kind of accompanying tool is the kind of opposite to that. So this takes us from yin to yang. So if let's say we've rested for a while and we've recharged our batteries, if we need to do that, let's say that we're not working so hard, we don't feel so motivated. Sometimes it's time to get going and get off our asses really and kind of grab life for all that it is. And life is a beautiful, wondrous thing, full of opportunities to do amazing things in the relatively short time we have. So this direction I kind of tag as fuck it, go for it. This is the kind of Nike area of fuck it, which is really is. There are things to do out there. Let's grab the opportunities. This, make the best of every single day that we have. And these 2 tools work very well with each other, because if we're working too hard, then it's good to slow down, to give up, to do less, to tune into what we fancy doing. And then when we've tuned into what we fancy doing, we've recharged our batteries, it's good to get out there and do things. Say fuck it and go for it, but then we go for it. Let's say we set up a little business, we do amazing things, and we end up working 14 hours a day. We're working too hard, we haven't got enough time to see the kids. At that point, we need to say fuck it, let it go, or let go, and and that then constitutes the very balanced way of living. So we're using this profanity, fuck it, to balance our lives, to take us to take us back to the balanced point. If we're working too hard, you say, fuck it, you work less. If you're doing too little and you're not motivated enough, say fuck it and get going and do something. So it provides this lovely way of balancing, a very powerful way to balance us.
Mm-hmm. And thank you for that. And John, you reminded me that, I used to practice law, and it wasn't the right fit for me. And I didn't have balance. And generally in the legal profession, there is just an assumption that you will let it consume your entire life. But then when I started doing this work, I brought me with the work, right? And so I noticed my, what some would call workaholic tendencies, to work really long hours. And sometimes I still do. But I'm just a lot more conscious now that isn't the way I want to live.
Absolutely, and to get that balance right, I mean, you do. It's even more for you guys in the States. I think you work harder than a lot of us do in Europe. I mean, there's people around me here in Italy that a lot of people have 6 weeks holiday, and that's probably a little shocking to you, isn't it?
Well, it's shocking to a lot of people. It's part of my vision for sure, but I may just end up moving to Italy, John. That might make it easier.
Well, I often talk about Italy as the California, actually, of Europe.
Oh, that's perfect, because I was raised in California.
Hey, there we go.
So I think I would like it. John,
it is a beautiful, beautiful place.
Yeah. You say something, we have a few more minutes before the break, but you say something that really hit me in the book. You said, if you accepted that life is a roller coaster, could you enjoy the whole ride?
Yeah.
Would you speak to that?
Yes, of course. It's we've experienced our fair share of ups and downs in the last few years, and so it's easy when one leads a privileged and protected life where things go right to talk about relaxation and acceptance and the fact that the world is beautiful and life is beautiful. It's more difficult when you face the difficult things in life, when you face the crises, when you face loss, and we're going through a difficult patch in most of the global economy at the moment. So when you face redundancy or difficulty with money, etc., to kind of go, well, life is wonderful. Life is an abundant, joyous thing. So the idea here is that in the stark reality of a tough life, and many of us do lead in lots of different ways tough lives, can you kind of go, well, that's life. Life is ups, it's the amazing times, it's the abundant times, it's the rich times, it's the joyous times, it's the having kids and everything going well. But it's also the other way round. When things do go wrong and we do lose what we love and we do lose those things we're attached to, and it can be really tough. And so the idea is that we welcome is maybe too strong a word, but I'll use it anyway. We welcome whatever life offers us, and we embrace all the different things. And it's really hard to know this stuff when bad things are happening to us. But often there are things that for us in the bad times as well as the good times. I mean, we all know about how powerful illness, for example, can be as a teacher for us. It takes a lot of us into different lives, into giving up things that weren't great for us. So the idea here is to kind of go, okay, life has its ups and downs, and I know that it always will have. No matter how good I am and what positive affirmations I do, there will be the downs as well. How can I see that that's life's offering as well, and embrace that?
It's incredibly freeing. And thank you, John, we're coming up on a break, and I want to just let everyone know, if you're just tuning in, we're listening to John C. Parkin, author of Fuck It Therapy, The Profane Way to Profound Happiness. And you're listening to Just Say Yes with me, Betsy Gutting. I'm really enjoying the show, really enjoying being with John. When we come back, I want to talk about the magic, not just breaking down the walls of the prison, but walking through walls with some of the magic tools that you'll find in John's book. And if you want to go over on the break to his website, it is thefuckitlife.com. And some of you are in the Facebook chat room. I will come over during the break and say hi. So maybe stand up and move your body, go get something nourishing, and we will be back in 5 minutes. welcome back. You are listening to Just Say Yes with me, Betsy Gutting, and I'm here with my special guest, John Parkin, author of Fuck It Therapy, The Profane Way to Profound Happiness. And a couple of quick announcements before I bring John back on. The best way to stay connected with me is through my monthly inspirational newsletter. You can go to my website, betsygutting.com, and you will receive a gift, which is an MP3 of my meditation CD, Guided Meditations for Awakening Your Passion. A couple of other things coming up I want to let you know about. I'm really excited to be at East West Bookshop in Seattle twice in the next month. November 24th from 1 to 5, I'll be doing mini intuitive readings. And then on December 6th, I'm offering 1 hour and half hour intuitive readings and coaching sessions. And that's from 12 to 6 p.m. And of course, as an intuitive life coach, I also offer private coaching. We can coach by phone, Skype, or if you're in the Seattle area, we can work together in person. So give me a call at 206-605-2900 or email me at betsy@betsygutting.com if you're interested in doing a 30-minute complimentary consultation to see if we'd be a good fit for a powerful coaching partnership. So I want to bring my guest back on. Welcome back, John.
Hi, Betsy. I'm afraid you're cutting out a little bit for me. I don't know whether you can you hear me clearly?
Yes, you're very clear.
Okay, good.
You're very clear. So I'll do my best to not cut out. I'm calling in the gods right now, the internet gods. And I want to ask you, John, we already mentioned your website. You have a Facebook page also that people can go to get more inspiration, correct?
Yeah, we do, the Fuck It Way. I think if you just search on Fuck It with asterisks rather than the U and the C, you can find most of that stuff, yeah. Okay,
great. John, can we talk about magic?
We can.
Okay, because one of the things I love about your book is you talk about breaking down the walls with the Fuck It tools that you mentioned already, but then you talk about using magic to walk through the walls. And that lights me up. Yeah, that lights me up to think about walking through walls instead, because I think all of us know on some level that we do have magical powers that we just often don't tap into.
Yes, I think I didn't hear all of the last part of your question, but so you're asking about walking through the walls and how to do it. I got this idea from that film Men Who Stare at Goats with George Clooney. There's a great the kind of background to that story is really interesting about this general who really he was so into a lot of the kind of psychops, which is this unit that was investigating psychic phenomena and psychic work and trying to use it in warfare, actually use it peacefully as well to kind of disarm the enemy using peaceful means. And this guy, this general who was really into it, believed that if he could really work it out, he would be able to walk through the wall of his office. And so most days he'd basically set out and relax himself and get into his kind of relaxed kind of psychic state and then walk at his wall. And usually, of course, I say usually, every time he would bump his nose on the wall and bump straight into the wall. But he just believed it was his lack of skill in walking through the wall that was there. So the idea with this is that, there are things that we can do to be free. There are processes that we can go through to work with our perfectionism, to work with our self-doubt, to work with a variety of the things that trap us. But there are also things that we can do that aren't kind of rational step-by-step processes. We don't have to think about the stuff that's trapping us. We just have to start practicing a few things. And that can magically transform us. It can magically take us out of our prisons. And so in the book, I talk about quite a lot of things. Anything you particularly like to talk about as a magic technique?
Yes, I'd love to talk about expressing it. You talk about something called free Qigong.
Yes.
Yes, and that's something that I've since I'm a dancer, I love to dance. It's something I've done quite a bit. And I actually did it Saturday night when I was reading your book. I
Yeah.
put down the book and I listened to what you said and I started moving and I felt amazing afterwards. So will you share that with people?
Yes, I can. Yeah, this lots of different disciplines kind of approach this thing from different directions. But the way I've always approached it is through Qigong, and Qigong is the art of working with energy. So the most famous form of Qigong is Tai Chi. Qigong is like yoga, the Chinese yoga, really. It embraces lots of different things. So whenever you're working consciously with energy, you're doing Qigong. It literally means working with energy. Now, so it can look like different exercises. You can do exercises like Tai Chi, but at an advanced level, and we often teach the advanced level on about day 1 or day 2 of our courses, but on the advanced level, it involves simply tuning in to what's going on in your body and then listening to that and following it. And we normally do it with music on, often my music now actually, but so I play music and then say to people, the best way to contact this, if you don't know Qigong and you don't know what your Qi feels like, because as you start to get into this, you'd say things like, follow the Qi, follow the energy, and then you can actually feel that the energy is shooting your right arm out, so your right arm will shoot out. But before you get to that level, all you have to ask is, what do I feel like doing? So if for example, your listeners want to, at some point today, or even now, just while listening, to just kind of just really relax, just relax the body completely, and maybe stand up and just relax and shake out of it. It's usually very good to shake before we do this. Just shake out, and then you ask yourself, what do I feel like doing? And it might be that you want to continue shaking. It might be that you want to sit down. It might be that you want to stretch out your arm. It might be that you want to do a stretch, like a kind of yoga stretch. It might be that you want to jump up and down. It might be that you want to shout. It might be that you want to cry. It might be that you want to laugh. So by asking yourself constantly, what do I feel like doing? What do I feel like doing? And then following it, you create an incredibly, well, it's an interesting process, first of all. It can't avoid being interesting, especially if you're doing it in a group, because lots of people are doing different things and feeling free to do it. And when you're around other people, people do really feel free and start to do silly things because they feel they've had permission to do silly things. But it's astonishingly healing. In Qigong, which is it's a healing art in itself. It's one of the most powerful healing arts in the world. In Qigong, this is the most healing part of Qigong. So the best Qigong healers will always talk about, it's called spontaneous Qigong or free Qigong, as the most powerful healing part of Qigong. Because what you're doing is you're tapping into your own Qi. You're tapping into your own higher voice, instinct, the deepest part of yourself, the highest part of yourself, and in the end, you're probably tapping in nothing to do with yourself, into a universal consciousness, etc., etc. So, who knows how the detail works? But it's very beautiful. It makes you feel wonderful, and we've observed many different forms of healing from doing this and experienced it ourselves. I mean, I love it. I don't do it enough. But when I do it, I just feel fantastic. Like you, I feel fantastic when I do it.
Because the body knows what to do, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we say that you are your own best healer. You are your own best doctor, your own best guru. It's like, we might travel. We hear about an amazing healer or guru on the other side of the world. We might spend all our life savings to go and see that healer or that guru or that teacher or that master or that yoga teacher, whatever it is. They've got this amazing reputation, and we go and they touch you just in a certain place that creates a powerful healing. And that form of wisdom is right within us now and all the time. We know better than anybody else. It's just that we have to learn to tap into it. So that form of intuitive wisdom is there all the time. So rather than paying for the flight and going all that way, getting the jabs and paying a fortune for the weekend workshop, we can tap into that. Now, of course, we often need guidance in tapping into it, but that's the idea. I don't want people to come back and see me for the next 10 years. I'd like to hand people the knowledge, and the knowledge is that we know it already. We just need to work out how to get in touch with that.
Yes. One of the things I love about guided meditation also, John, or just any sort of meditation, is that same thing. When we're really tuned in, our spirit just gives us exactly what we need for healing, the right image, or it'll just guide us to someplace in nature, or it'll whisper a little something. That's what I just love about the mystery.
It's beautiful, isn't it? And you,
yes.
I just want to say thank you because I can now hear you again properly. So
I'm so happy to hear that.
That's lovely. It sounded as if you were underwater before. Maybe you were underwater. Maybe you were having a bath, and you were speaking part of the show underwater. Is that true? Did I catch you out?
If you believe in parallel realities, John, that could have been possible. I just wasn't aware of it.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I did pick up on that. You see, in one parallel reality, you were having a bath. Do you call it a bath?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I do occasionally have to ask because some things that I refer to, people don't know what I'm talking about when I'm talking to anybody in the States. So, okay. So, in one parallel reality, you were having a bath, and another parallel reality, you were flying. Actually. Flying had been invented in that parallel reality, so you were flying and just flying around the countryside. So you're having a great time in many different spaces at this moment.
Oh, John, that's so joyful. So tell me what you were doing in this parallel reality while I was flying and taking a bath and talking with you.
I dived into this massive, it's the size of a swimming pool, but it was a chocolate cake. With some double cream on the top. So I basically dived in, and then to get up to the top again, to get air, I had to eat my way back up again. So that was just one parallel reality. In another reality, I dived into a lemon sponge. So all my realities involve food.
Well, you can see I can relate to that, John. Absolutely. And that's so fun. One of the things I love about your book is that there are places where you do what you just did. You go into these wonderful stories that transport us back into our playful silliness, where, I, for one, just really want to spend a lot more time living. In fact, I write, one of the ways I get in touch with my spirit or with, I don't really know what it is, but like you said, there are a lot of names for it. But one of the ways that I get in touch with my higher guidance is I write, "Dear Spirit, please tell me this," or "Dear Spirit, give me ideas for this." And I'm always asking, show me how I can just be silly in most of the moments of my day.
Yes.
Do you ever feel that? Do you ever feel that way? Like you just want to or maybe I should ask you this. What would you like to, you've accomplished so much, you continue to, you're touring with your book. What do you want to sort of weave more into every aspect of your life?
Yeah, I'm. It's a good question, and I'm really into at the moment just doing what I love, and so sometimes that is just being silly and hanging out with people and being silly. Though it's not always the thing, is it? It's not always appropriate. It's always not possible, and so I do end up in situations where I sadly have to be quite serious. I say sadly, sometimes I am quite serious. So the thing I love doing at the moment is making music. So I've got a whole journey involved in making music that I'm traveling through at the moment. So very briefly, my story with music, which I'm telling a lot at the moment because I think it helps people understand that they can do what they love. So when I was a kid, I used to love playing on the piano when I was really small, and I thought I was making amazing tunes. I used to love it. And I thought, this could be actually performed and transmitted, and people would love this. But nobody ever told me it was great. I thought it was great, but nobody said it was great. My mother just said I was making a racket. So a little bit later on, I in my teenage years, I was playing the guitar, and pretty similar story in that I was playing, and I loved some of the little sounds I was making. I wasn't playing tunes. I was just making kind of semitonal sounds. I just loved the sound of certain notes going together, the harmonics and the semitones on the higher strings. And I just do very simple stuff, but I love the sounds of it. But nobody ever told me that's really good, so I kind of gave up. the guitar as well. And it's only in the last few years, 3 years ago actually, when I was doing this exercise of kind of going back to when I was a kid and remembering what I liked doing. And I remembered that I loved making music. So I thought, well, why can't I make music again? It doesn't matter whether I'm any good. It doesn't matter if my mum or anybody says you're good. I just want to make music again. And so I started making music again 3 years ago. And as I say, I use music, DJ'd music for the sessions, to do these spontaneous Qigong sessions. And I thought, well, this is great because I've got people coming all the time who want to do this therapeutic stuff with us. Why don't I make music and create music for these sessions? So I started doing it. And I'm just at the point where I'm just creating 90 minutes of music for a gig that I'm doing in London in a club for 2 hours called The Fucking Experience. And I'm finally, and it feels fantastic. I'm finally making music that people are going to dance to and go mad to and let go to. I love it. I love people going crazy to the music that I've composed and that came out of my head.
Yes.
So this is my dream, is to spend my time doing what I love. And I love being with my family. I love writing stuff. I love talking to you. I love spreading the word of this stuff around the world. But what I really love at the moment as well, which adding to everything, is making music and sharing this stuff through music as well.
That's so, well, all of us can feel that just exciting, alive energy. And I think it's so awesome that you're doing that. I think it's so awesome that you get to do that in a club. And
it's very exciting. Yeah,
it is, John. And so have you noticed that, one of your tools in the book is Trust It, one of your magic walking through walls tools?
Yeah.
Is trusting it. And have you noticed, I think sometimes we think that, on the spiritual path, so to speak, the growth path, that we'll arrive somewhere at some point, that we're sort of doing the work, so to speak, to get someplace where we can finally feel free and be done, and then it'll all be great.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever had that thought, but I used to have that thought. And now I'm realizing more that we're always growing and we're always expanding, but I'm always getting these nudges to go do this or go do that. I talked about on my last show, I talked about dancing on the 520 bridge, which is this major thoroughfare in Seattle. And one night there was all this traffic. And so I got out and danced on the bridge with my friend, which was huge. It was a huge fuck it for me. And, and now I like I love to rollerblade. And so I've been getting this inner nudge to sing out loud while I'm rollerblading, with lots of people around, right?
Yes.
So it takes a lot of, for me, it takes a lot of what you would say, fuck it, to just do it anyway. And so, but I have this really strong, driving sort of force within me saying that I need to keep doing that. I just need to keep listening to that voice. And so, one of your tools is that it's trusting, beginning to trust those what I call inner nudges. Can you talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the whole fuck it process is a key part of the fuck it process as we talk about it and teach it. And to encapsulate that into a minute, it's basically when you relax a bit and let go a bit and give a bit of time for yourself, a bit of space for yourself, and you slow down, you then start to listen to what's going on inside of you, what messages are in there, and those messages that come up. I want to do this. I want to go rollerblading. I want to sing at the top of my voice in the public place.
Yeah.
And we need to listen to those. We need to give those inner voices as much value as we've given every external voice that we've heard throughout our lives. You see, we're trained and we're taught and we're conditioned to only listen to the voices outside of us. And we're the idea that we should listen to the inner voice is beaten out of us, sometimes literally beaten out of us. Don't do what you want, you do what I say, we're told by teachers, parents, etc., etc. So to give that voice of value, that inner nudge of value, and then it's got value, so you trust it. You trust that message from you. If you tune in and all you get is, I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired, then go to sleep. You need to trust the message and just sleep for 3 days if you can. And if the message is saying, go to the end of the road and just stand on the corner and sing, then trust it and do it. Now, it can seem occasionally an insane thing to do, but it generally works. And so you follow and trust these messages. And it then, I'm sure you've found how this works. It accumulates. So you trust it, and it takes you to somewhere else, and you learn to trust, and you know that it works out, and you know the kind of higher reasoning and higher messages of how this works. And then you trust something, and then you meet somebody on the trip that you've had out to go rollerblading, and they lead you to something else.
Mm-hmm.
So the ultimate point of this is that when we tune inside, in the end, we go to the universal energy outside. And this is a big idea, that we stop listening to the superficial outside voices and we go inside for the spiritual journey. But when we go inside properly, deeply, and with a kind of very deep listening, we end up realizing that everything is connected, everything is linked. So we go outside to the more profound level. So it's a weird journey from outside superficially to inside profoundly, and then back outside to a kind of profound level.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. I mean, it's so, when you talk about that profound level, it's like, then we are really then we can create, that's what I call the magical life. Then we can really say, okay, all those things that I learned, that sort of struggling and striving and doing it all by myself and working hard, that actually isn't the way I need to live. I can live this magical way instead. But we do, at least I tend to go in and out of those states and you actually call it the fuck it state.
Yeah.
Where we're in that really aware state, and where magic
connected.
can really happen. Yeah, we're connected. And synchronicities happen. And like yesterday with my daughter, we got a parking place right in front of the restaurant that's usually, just impossible to find parking. And things like that happen when you're in that state.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I think it's wonderful to be in that state. And I like to get into that state. And we can get into that state just by being silly and playing and doing what we love. But here's the ultimate truth, I think, is that everything is okay, and everything is that state in the end. It's kind of like the overriding sense is that there isn't anywhere to go, and there's nothing to do, that we are there already, we're fine already. And that's the ultimate relaxing message for me. It's like even when I'm upset or pissed off, that's an Anglicism, I think. If I'm stressed out, if I'm angry with somebody, if I'm really out of this state, if I'm acting very, very seriously, if I'm resisting loads of stuff, I am still there. It's still okay. And everything is fine as it is. Everything is perfect. And that's the overall fuck it message, that yes, there's a fuck it state, but also above it all, everything is okay.
Yes. Absolutely, yes. Because then we get to enjoy life, right? I mean, then we're saying yes to all of it, and it brings me back to your question about, if life were a roller coaster, would you be willing to enjoy the whole ride?
Absolutely, and this is about saying yes to the whole experience. So the danger is, if we go, the fuck it state is right, or this state, or the child state is right, we then make everything else wrong, or not something we like to be in. And what we're saying, I think we're both saying the same thing, aren't we?
Yes.
We need to say yes to the whole lot. Let's accept the whole lot. Let's recognize the whole lot is fine as it is. It may be beautiful, it is, but it's certainly fine as it is. Whatever state we're in, whatever's going on.
Yes. So, John, it's been so amazing to be with you. We have only 30 seconds left. Thank you so much for being on the show. It's just been my delight and honor.
Thank you, Betsy. It's been beautiful for me. Thank you.
Oh, yes. And I want to let everyone know that you can find John's book, Fuck It Therapy, on Amazon.com and in bookstores. You're just going to love, love, love this book. It's going to be incredibly freeing. So definitely get the book. And thank you so much for listening today to Just Say Yes with me, your host, Betsy Gutting. Connect with me on Facebook and have a beautiful week. Go out there and just say yes.